Morning, everyone, and welcome to another InfraViewing Spotlight Series. I'm super pumped to confirm we have Peter Vasey, Director of Modern Work at Nasstar. I'll give a real quick intro of Nasstar, but I'm sure Peter will give us a better, more in-depth overview as the podcast goes on. Nasstar specialise in transformative technology, offering an integrated suite of managed services that deliver everything from cloud optimization and application modernization to network security and self-serve tools. They have a real unique approach to remove the complexity of IT, modernizing and managing technology to help their clients succeed. So my experience, I've seen them dedicate themselves to creating transformational change for customers, enabling a smarter and more efficient business performance. So, they are looking to make bigger steps towards Nasstar's vision of inclusive and a greener IT. Peter, I said I'd do a quick intro. I'm sure you can give us more insights throughout, but how are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. That's quite a build-up. I quite like that. Yeah.
No pressure now.
It's good. Yeah, exactly. Set the bench high and then tail it off down from there afterwards.
No,
yeah,
mate,
I'm good.
listen,
Thank you very much for this.
I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, and look, we've known each other for a long time now, and just delighted to have you under the spotlight. So I suppose we should sort of kick things off, mate, and give us a quick overview for the wider audience of you. I suppose your career so far.
Yeah, so I am becoming very much aware that I am now officially sort of into the territory of old.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
No, it's true. It's true. Obviously, you're not quite as old, but yeah, I mean, looking back on it, I was thinking, well, how long have I been in it? And you could put years against it, but I think this is a sort of techie type forum and things like that. So I go back to the days of Windows 3.5.1 and Exchange 4.
Yeah. Okay.
So we are going quite a way back.
Go for it.
But I mean, I think the route that I sort of took to get into this was sort of fairly traditional. So I jumped onto the bandwagon of the MCSEs of the sort of like late 90s.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty good kickstart because there were people sort of hunting around for them everywhere, and the days of the tech that we know now was sort of coming. So from there, I sort of jumped out, and my first job was actually I landed very nicely into Samsung. So it was a fortunate footing. And then really from there, I spent a good chunk of time there working in the sort of the European arena, but with a sort of a global footprint.
Right.
And then it sort of, my wife and I basically decided to disappear off to France for a few years and ski and bike and things like that, and just stopped working. And when we came back, I went into the more sort of consultative type roles. And then ended up doing work for the likes of KPMG and people like that. So throughout that period, I've got some nice big sort of blue chip type names in the back pocket. And then when sort of KPMG came to an end, I actually ended up moving into the channel space, into the Microsoft partner space, and that's been a real sort of I think maker for me. Because you're not tied to one particular client, you then end up working with loads of different clients on loads of different technologies. And,
absolutely.
And it's always fresh because people are always coming to you for the next, what's happening over here? What are we going to do about this? So it's always exciting. You don't get sort of stuck into a pattern. So yeah, that's probably a slightly longer version of what I was sort of thinking of saying.
No, it's brilliant. Look, and this is what it's all about, really understanding sort of, why people got into the industry, how they got into it, and where they're at right now. And I love the fact you work for, I suppose, the huge consultancies. You've traveled a bit, it's UK, international, and then sort of went into the channel. And like you said, look, the channel's not for everyone, right? It's a fast, dynamic, forward-thinking industry, and not for the faint-hearted, right? I often say this: if you're transitioning from, say, an end user or a vendor and going into, an MSP solution provider, well, be prepared. Be prepared for the pace. Things need doing, and they need them done yesterday. So
it's
yeah,
that
it's brilliant, right?
Half the fun, right? Yeah.
Well, exactly. You know, I think whatever we do, we got to do it with passion and love, and you know, be excited about what's ahead of us that day. And I think the channel and certainly the MSP solution by the world offers that in abundance, right? You know, everything's new, different. You know, technology's ever changing. But I mean, from a business perspective, at Nasstar, I mean, I'm hearing so many things at the moment. You know, tell me, I suppose, what the core focus is for the business currently, because there's been lots of change, lots of acquisition, and I keep hearing about this vision right now. Tell me about the core focus.
Yeah, so I think just to sort of put a little perspective on it before we answer that piece. Nasstar's not really a name that is hugely well known in the market. It's getting there, and there's a lot of work going on around the brand awareness. But what's really happened is that there have been a whole bunch of acquisitions, and you've got some pretty well-known leading names within those sets of acquisitions. So actually, there's a full-blown managed service. We're nearly 1,000 people strong. So actually, we're a lot bigger than people potentially think. So
definitely,
there's a whole team over in managed service. You've got the likes of Calibri joined us recently for data and AI. You've got the old sort of modality components came in around the modern work and collaboration, which is obviously where my real sort of passion comes from. You've got other organizations that came in like Smart 421 and KCOM and pieces. So you bring all of those components together, and let's face it, M&As on that sort of scale are quite difficult to do. So there's a lot of work going on to reshape things into the new Nasstar model going forward. But the focus is we've got all these really good things, but if you try and lay that story out to a client, it's almost like walking into the sweetie shop and just going, okay. So we're going through this sort of framework development at the moment to really sort of get away from a list of technologies that we do and start talking about, okay, these are the trends we're seeing. These are the areas that people are needing assistance in. This is how you flip it out. And from that, here's the list of technologies that we need to address. So, we refer to it as our as Polaris. It's the direction you want to go in. This is how we get you there in a much more easy format. So there's a lot of components moving in the background to make that a much more clean cut story, so that when we do go into clients and talk to them about what challenges they're facing and where trends are going and what we're doing, that it's easier to lay it out and explain how we address it.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I think, in today's world, the message and the vision needs to be clear and concise, right? And when you look at Nasstar, well, like you said, not well known as much as potentially other sort of larger MSPs, but Christ, I mean, amalgamation of some real sweet businesses, right? That have been technically specializing in a broader range of technologies, but now coming under one banner. Wow, I mean, that could be a real powerful solution out there to customers. And actually, I think when companies do that right, when they acquire certain businesses to leverage their existing sort of technology solution base, if you like, to then sort of, I suppose, create one solution that will be able to support customers not just now but for the future. What does that look like from a customer perspective? So or should I rephrase that? What does the perfect client look like now for Nasstar? Because you've had so many different businesses that have been acquired, probably had different types of customers, different types of areas, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll still I can't say that, can I? We're still working through it. But I think the main thing is that there is it runs right the way through, right? As I said, from sort of like your network connectivity to your devices, right the way through to your endpoint experience, to your business applications, there's that whole story. And I don't think if you're going to do that right, I don't think it's going to suit the smaller end of the market. Because you are talking about substantial investments, you know, in these things, and we're not cheap. We don't want to be cheap. You know, we're not one that chases the bottom of the barrel to get the deal across. That's not the way of doing it. So I think, you know, we need to look at the type of customers that we want to work with, and these are going to be people who want to transform away from, you know, potentially legacy on-prem. But when you're talking about moving up to the public cloud, you know, and away from any sort of, we're aiming for zero infrastructure is our model that we want. So we want customers that want to come onto this journey. And journey, I hate that phrase. I keep saying it. I said it to you yesterday, I think. And you know, we're
all on a journey, Peter. We're all on a journey.
No, get out. But you know, one of our, I guess one of the feelings that we have internally is, if we're trying to persuade you to go to the cloud, you're not the right client.
Okay, I like that. Explain a bit more on that.
Well, you know, anybody who's got reservations about moving stuff up to public cloud, there needs to be either a really solid technical or really solid commercial reason you can't do it. All of the stuff about, oh, don't like putting my eggs in one basket, or I don't like doing this, you don't have to. If you want to put your data up in AWS, do it. If you want to put your, you know, your modern work in Microsoft, do it. You know, there's very few reasons left now why cloud isn't suitable. And you know, there are occasions, but if we're trying to persuade you that cloud is right, you're not mature enough in your thinking to come along with us. We'll help you define it,
of course.
But when, I mean, okay, let's go back. BPOS. When was that around? 2005, 4, 5, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
You know, so this isn't new stuff. It's changed, but these cloud services have been around for a long time. So
definitely,
if you're 20 years behind the curve and you're only thinking about whether or not cloud is suitable now, fine.
Yeah, you're going to get left behind, right? I mean, look, I love what you just said there in terms of, you know, cloud's not a new thing, right? You know, you know, I'm having sort of worked. God, I've worked in the channel now for 16 years out of 18 years of recruitment, and you know, I've gone on so many different digital transformation or technology transformations with customers, and you know, I'm going back 10 years when everyone started talking about cloud, and you know, there's companies out there now saying they've only been introducing it for the last 5. Some companies have been saying they're still transitioning their customers from on-prem to the cloud. And actually, I think, you know, there were lots of companies 10 years ago saying they were cloud specialists, but what they were doing was utilizing the sort of slightly smaller, more boutique actual cloud specialists to give them that offering to their client base. But, you know, in these days, there's so many different cloud solutions and offerings. It's not just, you know, hence what you just said there. If a customer is unsure or scared or worried, they're probably just never going to be ready for it. And they're going to be too set in their ways and just stick to that on-prem sort of ongoing solution, which isn't going to be a game-changing sort of instrumental efficiency to their business, right? You know, would you say at the moment in terms of size, it's more enterprise or?
Yes, okay, I think so.
Cool.
So large national and global enterprise, I think, are the areas that we really are.
Yeah, love it. And in terms of the challenges that you personally or while working at Nasstar have had to overcome, you know, from a business perspective over the last few years or couple of years?
I think that's an interesting, because it's been a weird few years, right? I think everybody can admit it's not been what we were used to. The technology world, I think, didn't suffer as badly as many other industries when, you know, when all the lockdowns and happened, etc. You know, you've got to shut your office. I know that most of my team didn't even bat an eyelid. It was like, well, I wasn't planning on going anyway.
Standard procedure.
Exactly. So, you know, depending on where you sat, obviously the impact was either quite dramatic or you barely noticed it. But I think during that period, you know, there were phrases being bandied around, like, you know, what did more for your cloud strategy, your CTO or COVID, and I think you know, the amount that people turned on Teams and the speed that everything got turned on, you know, we saw a massive acceleration, and I think that despite some of the problems in business marketplace, we haven't really seen that foot come off the accelerator. Once people have started turning things on the cloud, they're going, oh, actually, well, no, I could use this, I could do that. Can I do so and so? Actually, I may as well move this up there now. So we haven't really seen the sort of pedal come back off. So I think, you know, when you combine accelerated growth in you know, deployments and technologies like that, and you're trying to merge things in the background, it is a challenge. You know, and I wouldn't say we've got everything right. We've dropped the balls on a few things, and you know, when you're trying to do
that's where you learn, right?
too many bits and pieces, right? Yeah, but I think one of the best things that's that's happened, and yeah, just don't want to be sort of blowing smoke up my boss's backside, but you know, since Paul's come on board as CEO, there's a much clearer direction, vision, where we're going, how we're going to get there, etc. And I think that's you know, that's helping to galvanize a lot of, you know, people. It's like, we're going over there, cool, right, that's it, let's go. So yeah, you know, it's been a challenge, but I think there are organizations out there, businesses out there, that have had far tougher challenges than, you know, than the IT world.
Look, I look at it as, you know, I think challenges are healthy, right? You know, I think it gives businesses the opportunity to not just see where potentially they need to improve, but actually to also highlight how far advanced they already are. You know, because you know, we talk about COVID, we talk about adoption, change, adaptability, etc. And I think suddenly the whole world got sort of thrown upside down. It wasn't like a financial crash where you can kind of you know, adapt, you know, make cuts, or you know, with regret, redundancies, etc. It was like we've suddenly got this huge global issue where no one's really knows what's going on. It's the uncertainty that sort of created that worry. But actually, I think what it unearthed is people's ability to adapt, change, overcome, utilize technology in a slightly different way that was actually already there, but it just brought it to the surface quicker, and then kind of sort of come out the other side a stronger business with a stronger offering. And those companies that sailed through done well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you know, you touched on something slightly at the beginning of that little piece, and companies talk about having strategies, what you can do in the next 3 years, what you can do in the next 5 years. But I don't think organizations as a whole, and actually pretty much human nature, I don't think we ever stop, look back and go, where were we 3 years ago? And actually look at what's changed and what's, you know, if you look back 3 years ago and you're still doing the same stuff, you know, don't spend your time looking backwards. But sometimes it's good to actually just have a little look and go, do you know what? Actually, we have done all this in the last 3 years, and actually, we've made quite a big difference.
Absolutely. Reflection, right? I mean, if we don't reflect, then, you know, how do we look at what's working, what's not? How do we improve? Or, you know, I'm a big believer of, you know, things are going great. How can we make them epic? Right.
Yeah.
You know, and if we don't reflect, we're never going to be able to do that. And, you know,
within my team, we like the phrase Kaizen, which is, you know, the Japanese, just, if you see something wrong, just change it, move on to the next thing.
Love it.
And
love it.
You know, it doesn't always work, but it's a pretty good sort of philosophy to have in your back pocket, because even if it's something small, that problem won't be there next time.
Definitely. Yeah. Look, I mean, I'm a big believer of that. I mean, I'm all about mindset, attitude, behavior, and I live my life inside of work, outside of work, around, you know, positivity and, you know, what can we do to make positive change on a daily basis, making those little sort of marginal gains, etc. And I think reflection's key, right? If we don't look at, you know, what we could have done differently, potentially better, then how can we improve? And we run that risk of standing still. If we stand still, we go backwards, right?
Exactly.
Cool. So let's talk about the plan. So what's the you know, what's the plans for the next few years at Nasstar in terms of what does the future look like?
So there's, you know, we're looking to, once we've got everything sorted in the back end and stuff, and that's nearly there now, we will be looking to do a really big drive in growth. The offerings that we've got coming to market are really, I think, I don't think there's many out there that will now be able to offer the parallels of what we've got, combined with the agility of being slightly, you know, smaller than the global SI type stuff. So I think that's going to be an interesting space to watch. For me, you know, the trends within the sort of the modern work arena are based around the way that the desktop infrastructure is going to change.
Okay.
Security is going to change, and then really it's about how we use the tooling to bring information to the users and then deploy automation, right? I mean, there's a lot of noise about, you know, Copilot and things like that, and you know, coming down the line and stuff, and it's like, it's going to be great, it's absolutely going to be great, but you've got to address it in the right way, otherwise you know, you're going to create additional problems for yourself further down the line. So yeah, I think, you know, that those are the areas that we want to really sort of target in from my world. You know, looking outside of the modern work stuff, there's a huge amount around application modernization as people move there. You know, we see far too many people go, oh, I've got this application set on this server over here, I'll move it into Azure, and they literally just lift and shift the thing, and you're looking at it going, you know, we're going to do the whole sort of sharp intake of breath. Not sure you want to do that, mate.
Yeah. Have you thought about this? This is going to happen potentially.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, you know, as I said, big focus on drive. You will see definitely much more around thought leadership coming out from us, which I think is hugely important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, leadership from the top, driving the right message, the right vision, the right strategy around growth and technology and utilizing, you know, everything that you've got already, what you've acquired, what's already there, you know, and bringing that message together to, drive things forward and capitalize and, absolutely smash things out of the park. I love it. Okay. One of the famous questions that some people like or don't like, you know, what would you say the core for the wider audience right now, if you were to snapshot the sort of core USPs for Nasstar to the open market?
Oh, flipping heck.
I know, mate. I know. This is why I pause and edit and give you a bit more time.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll take out the 10-minute gap while I sit down and work it out.
Yeah, exactly. Back in the game. Look. USP.
So I think from my side, the USP is that we now have pretty much all of the technical components and the business consultancy to go with it to basically either run somebody's world entirely for them, or that we can come in and say, you want to talk about networks? Brilliant. We've got this, you know, SASE, we've got SD-WAN, we've got this over here. We can do all of that for you. Brilliant. That's great. How are we going to hook it into your, you know, your public cloud story, or how are we going to revolutionize what's going on in your, you know, in your world? And then from there, you know, it might be that as we talk about the SD-WAN, so, well, what applications are using it? Okay, well, then we're going to go and have a conversation about, you know, application modernization or whatever it may be, and then we're going to spin that one off into this. So I think it's turning into a one-stop shop, but what you've got is a one-stop shop almost with the various different best-of-breed pieces that have come out during the mergers and acquisitions. So you've got a very, very strong story. It doesn't really matter what part you want to talk to us about.
Okay.
You know, we've got that the phrase that gets used is heritage, right? Yeah. So you've got a lot of heritage from various different businesses all now within there. And you know, we talk to each other, and you know, if we want to have a conversation about security, that's great. We'll have a conversation about security, and if you want to branch out into something else, great. We'll go there with you. So you know, we want to get to know our clients immensely well, not just to the point of, you know, transactions to get POs across the line and all that kind of stuff. We want to understand the business. We want to understand the drivers. We want to understand, okay, so you've got these processes over here that people just seem to do day in, day out. Let's get rid of them. Let's do it. Let's sort them out for you. So and you can only do that when you know how a business works very, very well.
No, I love it. So it's kind of, you know, when you partner, fully understanding exactly what's working, what's not with that client. But now through acquisition, through mergers, you know, you've got every technical component in place, backed up with the right consultancy, to then offer that full. I mean, what a solution, what a service, right? And this is why I was. That's why I was so excited to get you on the spotlight, you know, because I keep hearing so many things, seeing so many things. I'm like, right, we got to spread this message. I absolutely love it. And okay, cool. So look, all of this sounds great. You know, it sounds like there's you know, exciting times ahead. Watch this space kind of vibe. But what about what you know, what sort of technology from your perspective will most disrupt the market in the next 12 months?
Look, I think I'd be an idiot if I didn't say about the whole AI stuff. It's interesting, right? I mean, let's just take the plain Microsoft look at AI. You know, the announcements that were made about Copilot a couple of months ago. You've got Copilot coming into security. You've got Copilot coming into the Power Platform. You know, you can write a sentence out that basically says, write me a script that does X, Y, Z, and it'll go and do it for you. I think all of that stuff is absolutely fantastic. What I don't think people are ready for is when Copilot lands in your Office applications. That's the bit I think is going to hit, you know, the wider field. I mean, you know, the ability to say, okay, take my Excel spreadsheet, turn it into a PowerPoint presentation for 5 slides, etc. I mean, that's something that, you know, you might have seen in science fiction films when you were, you know, when you were a kid. Do this for me, do that for me, you know, and I think it is it is something that is going to be proper revolutionary. I do think that people aren't ready for it. You know, there are some basic rules around it in the sense that, you know, it might write a response for you. It might tell you what it thinks. You have to take responsibility for the ownership and the creativity side of things. Because, you know, you can't sit there and say, oh, AI did it, I'm sorry, the answer's wrong.
No,
exactly. You've got to know that kind. But you know, again, I spout out all sorts of little one-liners and things that you pick up from all over the place. It's like, you know, AI is not going to take your job. Somebody with using AI will. And I think that's where we're sort of landing. So that automation AI piece, I think, is going to be the first step. And I think we're probably going to see 2 to 3 years of people getting to grips with how to use AI properly.
Totally.
You know, the fact that we can already to get it to do stuff for us in a matter of seconds rather than you know, writing the bulk of it. So it's going to get the 80% of it right or whatever it is, and we tweak it. So that's, I think, the absolute one to watch.
Agreed. I mean, everyone's talking about at the moment sort of AI automation, and have been now for the last, you know, 12 to 18 months, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's like, it's all very well saying, well, you know, I want to utilize AI automation, you know, from an internal perspective to be able to then make that external offering better, right? But it's how it's implemented, it's how it's created, it's how it's delivered. Because it's all very well saying, well, I've got AI, I've got automation, I can now, you know, have a business that runs more effectively, more smoothly, and therefore our service to our customers is going to be better. But we still need someone to manage it effectively. We still need someone to nurture it, build it, execute it in the right way. Otherwise, you've got a load of more stuff doing things that aren't executed in the right way, and it could cause more damage and problems. And
probably, you'll get to the wrong answer quicker, right?
Exactly. Look, and that's also a benefit, right? You know, I'm a big believer of, well, if you put something in place to get you to the answer, whether it be right or wrong, quicker, that still solves the problem, opposed to not getting to that problem for, I don't know, a longer period of time and then realizing it's the wrong solution. So, yeah, I mean, I think you know, that works. So safe to say that our jobs aren't getting taken over by robots in the next 12 months.
No, I think our interaction with tech is going to change. So I love taking little components and sticking them together, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. You know, the tech world will work out. But you know, we already have pretty good cognitive services. You know, the captioning around voice recognition is pretty much on the mark now, bar a few. You know, if you have strong accents, then maybe, okay, it's not going to work so well. But by the time you take voice to text recognition, you combine that into Copilot, it's not going to be long before you're actually having dialogue with your PC. So, you know, I look forward to seeing those kind of things as they mature and as they develop over time. And I think, you know, even now with that automation piece, you know, one of the things that that we're doing is looking at very simple sort of processes that the businesses tend to overlook, which is how your onboarding process works, for example.
Yeah.
And, you know, automate the whole damn thing. Don't rely on people to say, oh yes, I need to do the probation review in 4 weeks time. You know, when the person joins, populate diaries, send out the invites, get all the templates sorted, feed the you know, the information back through forms, you know, use the transcripts, things like the Teams Premium with the intelligent meeting recap, you know, all of that sort of stuff can all be built into these processes, which makes it really, 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 really rich. But then once the person's embedded and once they're on, you know, when they've got questions, get the AI to answer the questions for them. You know, it's already being talked about as Copilot coming into the Viva suite. And so there is so much out there. But as part of this, it's like, if you look at moving your on-prem infrastructure to a cloud, you've got a thing, right? I'm taking that from here and I'm sticking it up there. Where you start to get into the Viva, the automation, the AI, that kind of thing, you're talking about understanding what can be done. It's not necessarily a thing. It's like, yeah, actually, we can do this and we can do that. We can do this, or we can automate it. Or I can just type you a message and say, let's meet at the hashtag London office, and bang, all the information, the booking forms, the people who can give you access, it's all in front of you. So changing that business cultural piece as a result of the AI, I think it's going to be the real teller. I think the things like moving our business applications up to the cloud, migrations up to, you know, to Microsoft Azure, AWS, wherever it is you're going. I think those will be on a run rate now for next 5-10 years, whatever it is. That will be relatively static. People are moving things up to SharePoint, that kind of stuff will be relatively run rate. But I think once AI has landed, I think we will enter into a sort of a relatively stable period for maybe even the best part of the next sort of decade, potentially, as people really get to grips with it. One of the things that, God blimey, I should come up for air, shouldn't I? One of the things that, one of the things that I should you know, sort of say is, one of my real concerns / bugbears about all the new technology coming out is that us as businesses and as humans, simple co-authoring of a Word document or an Excel document has been around for about 16 years.
Yeah.
And how many people still send out attachments, you know, with a copy that you need to fill in and then email back? If we can't get our heads around very simple stuff like that, AI is going to introduce other challenges that businesses need to be ready for, right?
And this is what we said, you know, it's all very well saying we're going to utilize AI, automation, you know, all these new tools to, you know, implement certain sort of internal services to make them run more efficiently and smoothly. But if they're not done correctly, it's going to cause more problems and issues. So if people don't do it correctly, it's going to have a negative effect on it, right? And actually, the way I'm looking at automation at the moment, and look, from a recruitment perspective, you know, we automate whatever we can, but the ultimate goal is to utilize automation to get us to a human touch quicker. It's not instead of, you know, the moment I think we start utilizing it instead of, I think we're then going to start to see more issues and more problems. And suddenly we will get taken over by computers, robots, etc. So look, mate, brilliant insights there, and absolutely love that way of thinking around AI and automation. And look, let's bring it back to you a little bit more now, Peter, and you know, sort of to make it about yourself. And what's your biggest career success? Big question.
It is, and you know what, I'm I'm not sure. I'm not sure there is one.
Yeah, love it.
I
Too
remember
many,
when.
right? Too many.
Well, clearly.
Yeah.
No. I think there's a lot of good names that I've worked for throughout the organised, throughout my career.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great projects that I've worked on. There's been some bloody awful ones as well, right?
Sure.
But I think when I went for my interview, 8 years, 9 years ago, whatever it was, for modality. I know that James Roll asked me. He said, where do you want to be in 3 years' time? I remember saying to him, it's just like, I didn't know I was going to be here, so let's just can that idea and we'll just crack on. And I think um, I'm fortunate to be in the position I am. I've got a great team around me. I was like the people I've had the fortune to work with really have made it. So whilst it sounds like a little bit of a sort of cheesy answer, it's a lot of it I don't see as particularly being about me.
Yeah,
I see
love
myself
it.
as being a bit of a facilitator, and it's like, let's throw some ideas up. Let's do this. Let's do that. You look at AI. I know loads of people who know more about AI than I do. You talk about Viva. I know other people who know more about Viva than I do, and that goes across the board. Security, whatever technology you want to take. But what I like to do, and where I think of myself, is pulling the information out of their heads and making something with it. I think that's probably the bit that I like to do the best.
Brilliant. No, I love it. And so sort of bringing, sounds like sort of very much a team player, very much about collaboration, bringing teams together and seeing them succeed and develop, right? I mean, that's what any leader, any inspirational sort of head of, practice lead, director, whatever, just someone in any leadership managerial role should be all about, their staff, their team, and bringing the best out of them. And I love what you said there in terms of, instead of making your biggest success about you, actually your biggest success is about your team and seeing them develop and flourish. Love it. It's a real testament to your style and your success over the years, mate. And cool. I mean, talking about the team, how do you, famous question, right? How do you create a collaborative culture? How do you sort of do that yourself? We got remote teams now. We're popping into the office every now and again, and all this kind of stuff, right? I mean, the world we live in, it's difficult. People are all over the country. How do you personally sort of create a great culture?
So I think there's probably two angles to it. One is the geographical piece, right? How do you deal with the geographical spread? So, my team range from South Coast, sort of Poole, Bournemouth way, right the way over to Norwich, right the way up to Glasgow. So I can't realistically get them together that often. So we do it in a number of ways. We've got quarterly get-togethers where we literally get everybody in a room. We've got a really nice office up Wakefield, Leeds way, and we get everybody in there. We'll run some technical sessions, and then we'll have peers and pizza, apparently. Maybe beers and pizza, and we'll have a bit of a laugh together, and then it's back to work the following day. So that helps hugely, in the sense that we don't have a specific office that we pile into regularly. Outside of that, I think there are little things that you can do. So all of the people who work in the sort of the Microsoft arena, we have Tech Hive chats, and they bounce things around in there all the time. But apart from that, for me, it all comes down to who you've got leading those groups of people. So I mean, obviously, I don't have the whole team reporting into me. We've got a number of people who do. And I'm not going to tell them how to lead or manage. But for me, in the similar vein about picking information out of the best parts of people's brains, I think if you have an environment where people can go, I've got an idea, or can we do that differently, or whatever it is, you allow them to come forward, and it's like, actually, that's a really good idea. We'll do this. let's give it a try, let's work it out, or pull together something together and let's have a read through it. I think if you create that openness, people are much more likely to come to you with ideas rather than you having to generate all of these ideas yourself. You know, you don't sit there and take credit for somebody else's material. That's not right. But you know, where we've got experts in security, I would hope they'll turn around to me and say, "Hey, you've seen this? We need to jump on that."
Yeah.
But that builds a trust in the sense that, you know, we've been through a banding exercise and a pay exercise, and some people will bring technical things to the table saying, I'm doing X, Y, Z. Other people will bring conversations about, you know, about their future career path, etc. Whatever that topic is, whether it's salaries, you know, their own personal life, whatever it is, you have to have that openness of there's no topic off the table. If it's
Yeah.
bothering you, let's talk about it.
Brilliant.
And I think that kind of thing is much more important now that you have a remote environment. It does my bonce in when people don't use video.
I tell you what, don't turn it on. It's like, oh, come on, I want to see you.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'm not seeing you in physical person.
Yeah,
And, you
yeah.
know, going back, what is it? Is written text compiles something like 7% of communication. And then basically, as you add in, you know, video, it goes up to, you know, varying degrees. So you get text, you've got audio, you've got video, and then you've got full person one, you know, face to face, where you get 100% of the, you know, interaction, body language,
Absolutely.
and
Well, you feed off it, right?
that
Body
kind of thing.
language,
Exactly.
energy, all of that stuff.
So if you want to, you know, if you want to talk to somebody about it, you know, any kind of text-based thing is the worst you can use. It's great
Yeah.
for just pinging things of factual. Yeah, I need that. Can you get that? Yeah, I can do that. Great. Boom, done. The second you want to start actually building a kind of relationship, audio's, well, yeah, it's all right, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, we've survived with audio for many, many, many years. But now we have the ability to have video and stuff. That is what's going to build your team, you know, and how you do that. So it really is about having that sort of open, regular, fluid, you know, sort of communication. Yeah.
Mate, I absolutely love it as you were talking there. And, you know, I wrote down opinions count, solution-based team, openness, trust. You know, no topic is off the table. I absolutely love that, you know, because, you know, we are in a world where, you know, we are spread all over the country, sometimes globally. You know, we can't all get down to the office every week, every month, sometimes not even on a quarterly basis, right? And that collaboration, that opportunity to, when we do meet up, let's do it and have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of do this at InfraView, we call it gloves off. You know, anything goes, right? You know, it's still in a controlled way and it's still in a positive way, but it makes people feel trusted that, you know, if they do bring something to the table, one, it's going to get listened to, and two, we're then going to put some action around it. Otherwise, what's the point?
Exactly. And you know, to give you a sort of a, I don't personally, I don't understand people who build people around them. Okay, that's a personal thing. And I think it goes back, you know, and I think there's a session, one of the TED talks about who do you take as your team. You know, if you need to go and do things, it's like, well, if you went into, you know, into some sort of jungle environment, etc., you wouldn't take, you know, everybody with the same skill set. You'd need a doctor. You need a, you know, somebody who knows how to build shelters. You need somebody who knows engineering, someone who knows how to cook, someone who's a, you know, who can identify what plants will kill you and what, you know, what won't. Is that you need a whole bunch of skills.
Yeah.
And I think building people around you who are prepared to go, nah, not a good idea, is hugely important. You know, I went to write a Yammer post a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, yeah, actually, it's quite good. It's all about empowering people. And just before I hit the post button, I thought, yeah, I'm just going to run it past a couple of guys, and I did, and they both independently came back going, not sure that's the right audience. And it's like, okay, interesting, fine. Pull the post, put something else up. So I think you've got to have those people who are prepared to knock on your door and go, not sure.
It's important, right? And I think we got to lean on other people. You know, I'm a big believer of, you know, it doesn't necessarily someone with less experience than you could still offer something that could create something more successful in your own personal development. And, you know, this is why when we go back to that opinions count, open freedom of speech, you know, let's run a solution-based business where, you know, people can bring stuff to the table. I think it empowers development, it empowers, you know, communication, and it makes people feel that they're adding value. And therefore, we're then creating that self-satisfaction and team collaboration and, moving forward, opposed to every single time they put their hand up, it gets shut down, or every time they bring an idea to the table, it kind of gets listened to, but never gets actioned. And then people get deflated and they start to, I love that. And what about advice? What advice do you have for others looking to get into technology, you know, and more specifically, an MSP solution provider world?
Wow, blimey. I think probably the first thing on that one is the tech arena is so huge, and actually even working in the tech arena, you don't necessarily need to be an outright techie. You know, we're seeing much more in the way of business consultancy coming into those technical conversations, so you understand what the tech can do and how it all fits together, but actually you're having a business conversation. So I think, you know, the stereotypical days of looking at, you know, either having the consultancy high end or the IT crowd, you know, version where the developers sat in the dark room over in the corner. You know, those days are gone.
Totally.
The number of jobs and the type and breadth of jobs available within the tech arena is huge. So I think you need to have a proper dig around and actually look at what sort of things are out there, because, you know, change management is as important as you know, somebody who can, you know, spin up security in Azure, or somebody who can you know, look at classification and labeling of documents, you know, potentially in a more legal mindset. So it is huge. So I think the big thing is, you know, tech moves so fast. Is, you know, I do look at LinkedIn sometimes and just think, what's the purpose of it anymore? It's kind of Facebooky type stuff now, and you do question it, but there's a lot of good stuff.
Business book.
It is business book. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But, you know, there are a lot of things in there. So, you know, the likes of the TED Talks, the likes of the Simon Sinek's, the likes of the you know, posts coming out from Microsoft, this is what's coming down, and you get people like, you know, Tom Arbuthnot and stuff, and it's like, I'm sharing my information here. So pick on the people that you think have actually got pretty good handle on what's coming out, and just listen and read and watch, and from there on in, you'll be able to get, you know, a huge steer on the kind of thing that you want to do. The other thing as well is that, you know, we're about to enter, and you probably know about this, you know, like a bit of a skills war. There aren't enough people around, so, you know, look at apprenticeships. People need to run apprenticeships for technical organizations. Look at, you know, there's so much out there that we can do. You know, one of the things we're talking about internally is, you know, how we attract greater diversity into the business. We do okay diversity wise, could be better. So we're looking at all of those kind of programs, and then part of it is, you know, maybe we even need to go back a little bit further, because the curricula at school that they teach, so flipping out of date. It's not, you know, I think we ought to get a bunch of technical firms together, big players, and go back to the government and go, it's wrong. It's out of date.
In reality,
it's not relevant.
It's actually like this. Yeah, exactly.
You know, let's show kids, you know, about all the developments, all the, you know, let's make some funky stuff happen. Let's look at this. Let's automate some things and bits and pieces, and we'll really get people to buy into that nature, you know, rather than talking about the OSI level. It's important, right? The OSI level is important, but even since I did it in 2000 and 90s, whatever it was, I've never used it.
You
know, other people do, but how to turn kids off coming into technology.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Exactly. You know, and again, it comes back to if that's not delivered in the right way, with the right passion, with the right excitement, you know, kids unfortunately will be a bit like, that sounds boring, I'm not a techie. Where actually, you know, we're using this word techie as someone that isn't inspirational, isn't, you know, great at communicating, and that's not true. You know, what I love. Look, I'm completely non-techie, but love the technology space. You know, but I've grown to love that because. I am one of those
it makes
people
you money.
Well, yeah, that too, Peter. Absolutely, yeah. But look, of course it does, right? You know, for me, really, I'm in recruitment. You know, I make placements, I make money, but actually, for me to be able to do that, is I had to become a specialist in that world. Okay, from a non-technical perspective, but I still had to stick myself right in the middle, remain teachable, always want to learn, always want to be a sponge. Speaking to people like yourself, industry leaders in the game that have been, you know, hands-on with it and have gone through, you know, the engineer, the consultant, the pre-sales, the head of, the director, you know, throughout the channel, within the channel, if you like. And that's what excites me, just learning and developing and wanting to know more about the space. You know, you talked about, you know, it's so wide and so broad, but I think, you know, people can really pick and choose something that excites them. Don't go into IT thinking, well, my first experience wasn't great, therefore it's not right for me. Try again. You know, it's so broad, but you can still be so niche within it. And that's what I feel that people are potentially missing out on, right? Because it's like, you know, we're not a coder in a dark room sitting there just looking at code on a screen and not interacting. Quite the opposite. You know, certainly the space that we work in, you know, in terms of that MSP solution provider world, is interactive, it's communicative, you know, it's all about communication, it's all about collaboration, and, you know, effectively working for and with live customers that are active all the time. You know, and therefore that's where that pace and that urgency comes in. So no, yeah, no, I love it. You know, I think, you know, that's really good advice there, mate. And who do you are coming to, you know, we're coming to the end, and in terms of, who do you admire the most in the sector?
Do you know what?
Apart
I think there's a lot of, well, obviously, yeah. I think there's a lot of really good people out there, but I'm not a great one for putting people up on pedestals.
Cool, fair enough.
I think you pick bits and pieces from people. You know, everybody in your life you will ever meet knows something you don't, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, I think there's a lot of really good people out there. They've all got flaws. I'm just not a pedestal type person.
Love it. No, I love the honesty. And do you know what? Actually, what you've said there and what I've heard, correct me if I'm wrong, is, well, it's not one person. It's actually your way to be open-minded to whoever you meet. Is there something I could potentially learn, whether it be something so small that I could then take on and execute in a slightly different way to hopefully help your team or the business that you're working for. I love it, you know, and again, I use the phrase that I live by, always remain teachable, you know, and actually engage in every single conversation with an open mind, thinking I might learn something that will benefit me and therefore my team, etc. Love it. Cool. Right, some amazing insights there, and we're going to get to the fun bit now, Peter. Yeah, so I've got some fun quick fire questions.
Go on.
So nothing too hectic, quick, short, sharp, in 1 or 2 words. Right, 3 people you would most like to invite to dinner.
Bearing in mind I just said I don't put anyone on pedestals. Right. I think one of them would have to be David Attenborough before he pops his clogs. I think it'd be a good one, I reckon.
With or without the camera?
Oh, definitely without. I think you're going to get a much better picture without the camera. But no, I think I quite like my sort of science and documentary type stuff. So I think it would be Hannah Fry and probably Alice Roberts.
Fine, cool, good mix there. 2 similar, 1 completely different. All right, so I know the question to this. I think I know the answer. Sorry, Microsoft or Apple?
Do I need to answer that?
Well, this is it. If you answer it wrong, I think you're gonna get fired, mate.
I don't have a single Apple device. No, I am very much
Microsoft through and through.
Microsoft through, yeah.
Wicked. Football or rugby?
Oh, rugby, 100%.
Lovely. Thank
And
you
the right
very
kind.
much. I know that, but yeah, absolutely, all the way. Degree or apprenticeship?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Is.
I kind of got channeled in to do it, or starting a degree. I didn't finish it. I think apprenticeships are going to come into their own.
Perfect. Love it. One thing, either a personal passion or a hobby that most wouldn't know about you.
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
Right.
You can go as weird or as funny as you like.
I'm not sure we want to go down that route.
No, exactly. Yeah.
No, I would say that lockdown for no, actually, I was told by my lovely wife to get an effing hobby at the beginning of lockdown because I think I was driving her nuts. So I've gone back to what I used to do when I was about sort of 14, 15 years old, and that is radio controlled buggy racing.
Wow. Okay. Building them yourself, or buying them and building parts of it and enhancing it to make it go. Okay.
Building them, the kind that sort of go up to sort of 40, 50 mile an hour. So
love it.
Great
so
fun.
You're that guy when I'm in the park trying to have a bit of a sunbathe on a cheeky day off, when I'm hearing someone fly these buggies around the park. Is that you?
No. I'm up on the racetrack.
On the track.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Worst technology of the last 10, 20 years?
Worst and best, mobile phone.
Brilliant. Yeah, fair enough. Exactly. And it is, unfortunately, brilliant that we can access anything at any point at any time, but worst, it's always strapped to us. And unfortunately, it allows us to access anything at any time.
Exactly. Double-edged sword, yeah.
No, cool. All right. Best thing about working the channel. One sentence.
One word, variety.
Brilliant. Worst thing about working in the channel, or worst stroke hardest, however you want to say it.
Rate of change, I would say.
Yeah, brilliant. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. A motto, or a phrase you live by.
Oh, okay. The common factor in all of your failed relationships is you.
Whoa, I wasn't expecting that, Peter. Fair play. Mate, love it. And on that note, we are at the end, sadly, but I would absolutely like to thank you so much. Honestly, Peter,
it was
absolutely brilliant. Some amazing insights there. So once again, Peter, thank you for taking part in the spotlight. I hope yourself and Team Nasstar have continued success. So for the wider audience, I hope everyone's enjoyed hearing such great insights from Peter as much as I have. Naturally, if you have any questions or comments for Peter on any of the content that's discussed today, please feel free to reach out, post something below, share anything you like. And of course, if anyone would like to get involved in the Spotlight series at InfraView, please feel free to give me a shout. All my details are below. Once again, Peter, mate, absolute legend. Thanks so much. And yeah, it was awesome. Cheers, buddy.
No worries. All right. Look after yourself.